Well, g'day. Welcome to the detour. And again, I've got to take the reins. We've got Dan indisposed, although he can still push the buttons, which is great. Not just pushing my buttons, he's pushing the buttons for the show. But with me to help me through this, I've got Skye Mcgrory, our irregular guest, Olympic gold medalist, one of our greatest track cyclists, and as I say, stage winner in the Bay Crits. G'day, Scotty.
Yeah, thanks, mate. It's a couple of stage wins in the Herald Sun Tour, but you were overall winner multiple times, so you certainly put me away in that regards, mate.
Bay Crits are more important, mate. Bay Crits are more important than anything else. Yeah. So a great stage last night, and for all our Aussie fans and viewers, Caleb Ewan was just magnificent, and we've got a couple of words from him right now, so let's throw to the pocket rocket.
My legs are still burning right now.
Can you tell us how was this last 2 kilometers especially?
Yeah, we knew it was going to be super tough. It was the steep uphill with about 1.5 kilometers to go, and then it was always just slightly dragging uphill all the way to the finish line. So we knew from the steep part, all the sprinters' legs were going to be quite tired, and then with the extra drag to the line, it was always going to be like a really slow, like a slug, like grit to the line.
There was a relief, I guess, 2 days ago when you won the first stage. Now the confidence is there, or have you lost it at some point and now it's coming back, or you hadn't always knew that it was your level anyway?
No, I never lost confidence. This year I feel like I'm a stronger rider, and although the wins haven't come as many in the start of the year, I knew what the reasons were behind it, and it wasn't my speed or my strength or anything like that. And I think I showed in San Remo that I'm a stronger rider this year, and I just needed some luck, and we needed to work together a bit better as a team. And the boys, we messed up the first day, but like I said before, when we messed it up, that we always debrief that, and we always try to do better. And the last 2 sprints, they've done such a good job, and yeah, it's thanks to them that I could win these last 2 stages.
Yeah, and he's spot on there. He certainly is a bit stronger. His ride in Milan-San Remo was staggering, because not only was he able to stay there over the last couple of climbs, but he was at the front. I think he almost was too strong, because he went to the front when he probably should have stayed hidden, and he might have won that one. But he's in great form, and a couple of people were doubting him after the first couple of days of this race, but he certainly silenced all those critics.
Well, I didn't. Not that I didn't think he was going to win yesterday, but I thought maybe Nizzolo give him a chance, because he's been 11 times second. But yeah, for doubting Caleb, he was incredible. Definitely, it wasn't even close, really, was it? Fernando Gaviria went really early for UAE, which is a bit too early. But considering what Caleb was saying about that finish there, it was really tricky. Maybe a long range attack like that could have worked, but no one was going to get past Caleb. He went to the front. He chased down Gaviria himself, then went over the top of him. And Tim Merlier was third wheel coming into that sprint. Looked as if he'd made a mistake. He was too far back and was hopeful to step out and try and bridge across to Caleb. But he had nothing. He did try and come off the wheel of Jimalai, but couldn't get past. So that was just the speed of Caleb that he was able to carry for those last couple 100 metres. It was truly an impressive sprint, wasn't it, Johnny?
Yeah, very much so. And I was impressed with Gaviria. I thought he did exactly the right thing, because he's already worked out from the last 2 sprints that he can't match Caleb at the moment. So it was a smart move. But Caleb didn't wait for anyone else to bridge any gaps. He was prepared to go that far away too. And they're all behind him, and they couldn't even hold the wheel. So super, super impressed.
It was. And a little note for someone that's obviously coming off that long suspension, and only now, into his first series of races, and it was Dylan Groenewegen was 7th in that really difficult sprint finish. So it wasn't like your typical kind of, it's all the same sprinter names at the top there, but it wasn't your standard flat run in, lead out, come off the wheels kind of sprint, was it? So for Dylan Groenewegen to still get up that pinch, still hold on to 7th in that finish shows that, he'll be back to his absolute best pretty soon. And it might not be at this Giro because I imagine he's going to keep getting more fatigued, hasn't got the racing in his legs. But hey, who knows? The next sprint stage, he might pop up for it.
And I see that Caleb's now into the points leaders jersey, which he'll keep a few days, but because he's not going to stay till the finish, he won't be going for that. He hasn't bothered going for any of the intermediate sprints, but he's just in it because of winning 2 stages, I suppose.
Yeah.
Now, I had to catch up with Whitey a little bit earlier because he's got a 2.5-hour bus trip today, so he had to leave early. So we grabbed him and had words with Bike Exchange team director Matthew White about to start another big stage for the GC. Whitey, I'm without my right hand man Dan, who unlike your man who's been sick, who's as tough as nails, Cam Meyer, Dan gets a little bit crooked, and he's actually not crooked today. He's actually got family challenges. So, but anyway, mate, talking about that, how is Cam Meyer?
I haven't seen Cam this morning. He's still asleep. We've got to leave the hotel in the next 45 minutes, but I haven't seen him this morning. But he wasn't good after the stage yesterday. It was an easy stage, but I think he's been paying for the effort he made in the 2 days in the terrible weather. So I'll talk to the doctor after I speak with you, John, and then it'll be a decision that the doctors will make whether it's worth him continuing on, because the last thing we want to do is do any damage to Cam. And as much as we'd love to have him on the Giro for the rest and the value that he would bring us, his health is what's come first.
Of course. So Whitey, tell us about yesterday's stage. I know it's a sprint stage, so it's not quite so much pressure on you guys, but it's always about keeping out of trouble. How did it pan out for you?
Yeah, good. Those sprint stages in modern cycling, they're never relaxed. There's probably about 30, 40K of sort of relaxed sort of riding when they let the brake, let them out there and there was no wind. And then, as always, all the teams have the same information regarding wind and those sort of elements that do increase the tension in the race. And even though we weren't contesting the win, it's always stressful to protect our leaders because at all times, as a GC team, you've got to mitigate risks. And so you're staying out of trouble. And that takes a lot of energy from certain guys to protect our leaders. So we got through safe and sound. And that was the main focus for any sprint stage for us.
So it was just had Burt Lancaster trying to call me on the other line. So there you go. The fun and games. But so what did you think of Caleb's performance? It was a pretty impressive sprint.
Yeah, 100%. He's shown now he's got into his groove, and he is head and shoulders above any of the sprinters we've got here at the moment. That sprint, he had to make a big. It was a gutsy move from Gaviria. Probably, when you're a world class sprinter making those sort of moves, for me, it's sort of someone who's maybe even doubting his condition because it's an all or nothing move. It's an all or nothing move, and he went for it, and Caleb was onto it pretty quick. And he showed a real clean set of heels, better than the other sprinters there. And it was a good finish for Caleb. That uphill kick is good for him, but he read that final really well, and he took it upon his own shoulders to go after Gaviria, and he was just too good for the others.
Yeah, look, I was looking forward to watching how him and Tim Mullier went against each other in a good sprint. But like you just said, I was very impressed with Gaviria. He realised he's hadn't got the speed of Caleb right at the moment, so he went early, and it was very impressive. But gee, the way that Caleb just reacted to that showed you just how confident he is. And he'll probably win another one before he goes on after the 13th stage, I reckon. But
he's certainly the favourite. An interesting side note there is I'm not sure if people picked up on the television. Tim Miller, let's say, had some stomach issues about 20K from the finish and actually had to stop and hop off the bike and relieve himself. And then we had two teammates come back and take him back through the group. So he had he obviously had some crook guts yesterday. So I don't actually know where Tim finished, where Miller finished in the end, but I do remember him coming through the convoy inside the last 20 kilometres, having stopped for to relieve his stomach. So not a good sign for him. Not a good sign for him if he have stomach issues. But look, regardless, Caleb's shown he's really got into his groove there now, and I think for the next few sprint stages, he's definitely going to be the man to beat.
Well, I got to tell you that Tim earlier finished third in the stage, so he's a lot tougher than Dan Jones. Bad issues and still can perform. So pretty good performance actually. Now today we're back to another GC day, so this is our third day that you would say the GC boys will come out to play. Plenty of climb in the middle, but the last one is not so long, but it still will let us see exactly where they all are.
Oh, look, John, it'll go two ways there, mate. It'll go two ways. That profile, it looks tough. I drove this stage 3 weeks ago. The climb to the line, it's just enough. It's just enough to get rid of the pure sprinters, but I think there's a good chance there'll be a breakaway today. And I think it's even one of those finishes for a Peter Sagan or a Ulysses, because it's only 2 kilometres from, I think it's 3 to 1K to go is quite hard. But the last kilometre, the last 400 metres is a false flat, and you're not climbing that hard inside that last K. So it's one, there could be 2 races. There could be a race up front for the breakaway, and obviously FDJ will do everything they can to keep that jersey. We're starting with pretty windy first 50K, and then the closer we get into that mountain range, the less the wind will drop off. But those climbs, those first 2 climbs are just steady, very long technical descent onto the last climb. But the last climb itself, it's a K and a half, 2K of 7 or 8%, and it's like if the break is up the road and it's not for the win, I don't know if we'll see too much action actually out of the GC guys in the final there, because we got good weather today. There's a lot of tough stages coming up, but it'll be interesting to see how that first hour of racing pans out first.
I was going to ask about the weather, because they've had freezing cold and rain or sunny by the sea. So no rain today?
Look, I'm not a weatherman, John, but there is some very inclement weather, and in the next week. I think we've got predicted possible storms nearly every afternoon. So it's going to be hit and miss. And obviously, when you go into the mountains, one range can be raining, and you go 5K further on and it's totally dry, or one pass over and it's a different weather system. So look, I think today the chances of rain are quite small, which is good. Because that final descent in the wet would be a one that could definitely split the group up.
The Giro is a bit like Melbourne weather. Absolutely beautiful one day and bloody shit house the next. But anyway,
look, sometimes we've had this part of Italy. Usually we've got really great weather, and if anything, it can be pretty hot at this time of year. But at the moment, it's hit and miss. The long range forecast for the Dolomites is good, which is the main thing, because we're going 1,400 meters at the moment, but when you're talking about going above 2,000, that's where it turns into snow. So look, weather's one thing, and every team's aware of that, and everyone's doing their best to stay warm and stay safe. Yeah,
interesting. You mentioned FDJ. They will want to keep the pink jersey for another day if they can. So I just wonder if the breakaways, we know who's going to be in the breakaways. It's about certain. The 3 teams have been in just about every breakaway so far, but they'll need a pretty strong team to stay out there today, because I reckon FDJ will be really putting the pressure on for Attila the Hungarian.
For sure. They'll want to keep the jersey, because then they haven't got a GC rider here or a sprinter here. So Pinot pulled out at the last minute. Demar's getting ready for the Tour de France. But if things get out of control and we get a 20-man break up the road, that's where they're going to start to run into trouble.
Now, the most important question that I've got for you before I know you're going to run is what was for dinner last night, mate?
Dinner last night was nice, pasta dish, and I went double seafood pasta, seafood for my main.
And see if it deserve.
We're on the coast. We're on the coast, mate. So when in Rome.
Exactly right, mate. Exactly right. And I've seen you in action, so you can give it a nudge. Look, Whitey, as always, thanks heaps, pal, and good luck out there today. And we'll chat tomorrow.
Yep, and fingers crossed Cam's woken up well, and we can start with 8. But got to go talk to the doctor now and see what the plan is for him.
Well, there we go. And he just texted me just a couple of minutes ago to tell me that that Cam will be starting today. So obviously much, much tougher than Dan Jones. So
that is impressive, because a couple of days ago, talking about they were considering not even putting him on the start line. And that was the flat stage, was it 3 days ago?
Yeah.
Which I guess there was really challenging at the end. That was the crash that took out Landa right at the very end. But most of that stage was pretty cruisy. In the first couple of hours, actually, that was a bit of a godsend for Cam, perhaps, to get through that. Then it was, challenging day the next day. But to be able to just recover just that little bit each day to get to a point where he's still in the race is quite
very impressive. They actually didn't think he'd be able to start the next morning because he ended up with a really bad fever all night. But he said right before the stage, he said, actually, I'm coming good, so I'll start. And he's managed to get himself through. So he's just, it's definitely a tough nut. I was going to show a little video of our race leader, Attila. I call him Attila the Hungarian, but of course Attila Volta, because it was remember that rider at the World Championships in Yorkshire, who just in the wet just sort of lost it, the whole bike. That was him. It was a wonderful footage, yeah. But Dan can't show it because he reckons it's copyright issues or something. So whatever. But look, we're about to have our special guest, who I'm really looking forward to talking to. But before we go there, we'll throw to our wonderful partners, sponsors in Bike Exchange.
Look at this bike. You think it's just a bike, right? But it's not. It's a bike 374 people are looking at. This guy, this girl, them, all looking at it. People from here, there, and wherever this is. People that are looking for a bike. Or just a piece of it. Amateurs, semi-amateurs, and pro-amateurs. This guy wants this bike, but with this crank and these bars. This could be the perfect match. But not this one. This girl has a bike to sell, and thousands of people might purchase it. Eyes on Bikes help grow small businesses. His, hers, yours, and the latest data and insights help those businesses keep moving. We are the world's #1 bike marketplace, with over 500,000 products and 900 brands, where buyers and sellers are brought together in a place where a bike is never just a bike. Bike Exchange, where the world buys, sells, learns, and rides.
Yeah, sensational. I love that ad. I never get sick of that ad. See it every day and never get sick of it. Okay, Scotty. Well, we have a great guest on today. He's a boy from Shepparton. He's not a boy anymore, but he goes a Shepparton lad, and probably their most famous sporting son now. He world champion and Olympic gold medalist like yourself on the track. There he is in the green and gold. Brett Lancaster, a superstar, and a professional road career from 2003 with Panaria, 2003, 2005, Milram, 2006, 2008, Cervelo. There he is, sharing the stage in the pink. 2009, 2010, Garmin, Cervelo, 2011, and Green Edge right from the beginning, 2012 to 2015. And then, of course, he left cycling, become a director of sport with Skye, which has moved into Ineos, which he's still doing now. So let's bring him on. Hopefully he's there. Hey!
Hey, guys.
Brett Lancaster. Well, we always call him Burt. For those old enough to remember the great actor. So, Burt, how are you, mate?
Good, mate. Just chilling out. Spain's lifted the restrictions a little bit this week. and having some people over for a barbecue finally. So, and then tomorrow head down to Ruta del Sol, Andalusia, just to start the 5-day stage race.
We
Now
forget
you've
that,
got
don't we?
sorry, mate, I was going to say you got a wonderful little a family set up there in Girona. You've lost your the heart and soul though once Dan Jones left the town. Is it still the same without him?
Yeah, once I've just actually moved out of town. We're in a village just south now. Got ourselves a bigger place. I think, yeah, COVID changed our minds about the way we're living now, and got a big old place outside of town, and without Jonesy here, it's not the same. So that's why I moved out.
One thing that's different is he's not blowing people up with fireworks in those music videos. So it's safer in Girona without Dan there.
Yeah, I mean, I remember that video he did up there at the golf course when we first moved here. So that was a long time. It feels like a very long time ago now, Scotty. But yeah.
Yeah, no, but we forget. Like you talk about the restrictions being lifted. Like here in Australia, I think I got an email today from the Victorian government just saying that with more people going back to work, normal places, normal offices, then it's compulsory that everyone has to wear masks on public transport. Like that's kind of it. Like there's very few restrictions now. It's more common sense stuff than anything. And here in Oz, you kind of forget how strict and how serious things still are over in Spain and Europe, the rest of Europe. So it's good that they're starting to get some sort of grip on it.
Yeah, you're right. We're reaching some sort of normality, I guess. I think, last year when it kicked off, we went through a very bad patch with the lockdown. We were 8 weeks locked in the house, couldn't even go for a walk. Couldn't go outside. Supermarket or pharmacy type of thing, that was it. But look, Spain's done pretty well, and our kids have been at school after that the whole time. They've been home for 10 days on and off. There's been kids in the class with COVID, teachers positive. It's a bit like track and trace, I guess. But you're quite lucky there in Oz, let's say.
Looks like your first barbecue guest is at the door by the sounds of it, mate.
That's the missus getting back for a run. I've just been out for one myself, so I'm a bit buggered. So still in your workout clothes.
I don't know whether Dan has got this all queued up, but you sent me through a couple of really nice little shots of your 12-year-old son on the bike in all his Ineos gear, and he says no, so he hadn't got them. But that was wonderful stuff. Now you got three kids, but I noticed that Stuart O'Grady's decided to outdo you and go for a fourth. Is that a challenge for you, mate? You're going to try and catch up with Stewie?
Mate, I've had the old... well, that's not going to happen.
Clearly Stewie hasn't.
Well, look, I know he's got some great vision of different things in the bike game teed up to show. He'll probably try and get even with me for having a go at him here and there, so he'll try to make whatever bloopers he can down in the background. But before we get onto that, I know that you've got a bit of a stone in your shoe or a thorn in your side about the whole issue with what happened with Bike Exchange and Team Car and Gene Bates the other day. We spoke fleetingly, shortly about it just before. So I'd just love to hear your comments on that, Burt.
Yeah, what do I think? They're very hard done by. I think the UCI, when they make a decision, it's, they very rarely often go back against it. So I think at the start they should have maybe, I don't know what happened, but sat down with Matt and Gene and talked about it first and what happened. The first thing is there's a reason why there's no feeding in the last 20 kilometres because it's dangerous. They've called him up. Obviously, Gino was probably a little bit fizzled or thinking like what's going on and just clipped Peter Seri's wheel. Bad luck. So what this does now is, with the COVID, you've got to realise that you just can't pull another DS out of, let's say, if Matt Hayman's in Holland where he lives, he just can't fly straight in. You've got to do like 2 COVID tests. There's a protocol. So this puts Matt White under extreme pressure trying to win the race with Simon Yates. So he's DSing, he's multitasking. You got all these devices going on, and it's actually a lot more dangerous. So I just would have whacked Gino in the second car, whoever's their second DS in the second car come up and drive that vehicle. There's repercussions for everything, I think. And just a note for your viewers, I think that, you don't have to have 2 DSs in the first car. We choose as teams, as World Tour teams, to put 2 DSs in the cars. You probably find some of the smaller teams in the race only have 1 DS driving, but that's, it's a budget thing, and you got to have the resources to do that. So, yeah, it's not a good call from my side. Be punished in certain ways, but don't throw Gino out.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there in one part, Burt. In that when they got called up, there's 12K to go. Burt would have been thinking, what? We've done something wrong. They go up there thinking, whereas it was for a damn rain jacket. They didn't say, we've got a rain jacket, you can come up and get it. Because Matty White would have just said, we don't need the damn, we'll get it at the finish. They wouldn't have even bothered to come out. But anyway, we'll let that go. It was, I know that when I spoke to you earlier, you had some things to say. So we're talking about your early career as a track cyclist, world champion, and Olympic gold medalist on the team pursuit. Take us back through a little bit of that. I don't know whether Dan's got any vision of that, but take us back through a little bit of that, those amazing days, mate.
Sorry, that just cut out. Was that?
All right, Burt. Yeah, no, I was just saying, back where world champion, Olympic gold medalist on the track. Take us back to those days.
Yeah, I think actually Scooter's on the. We've got this monthly call we're doing now with Graham Brown's organised it, and it's all the old track cyclists basically, and then a couple of road cyclists on there, just talking about the good old days, and it's very nice to reminisce and talk about things. I think, obviously started off there with good old Charlie Walsh and Scotty. You'd be the first to say you know him pretty well, but yeah, they were different days. And then I was in that program for a few years, and fortunately enough, Ian McKenzie took over, and we started winning world championships, and then on to winning gold medals at Olympics. And then obviously myself, I had a road career and tried to balance that out with, track and road together. Didn't work out too well in Beijing, but that's when I finally hang up the track wheels.
Hey, Brett, just go back to say Athens 2004. Winning the Olympics is obviously it's a fantastic thing, but what's it like? And with all the experience you've had, working with Team Skye and now into Ineos, and your own road career as well, and winning things like the Prologue and the Giro d'Italia, what's it like to be a part of a team though in a victory like that, something as significant as an Olympic Games?
Yeah, Scott, I still to this day, I've had some pretty big achievements on the road, and obviously, being a lead-out man for the likes of Pushoff and Pataki, there's some really amazing moments in my career, and you get a lot from that. But there's nothing like Olympic gold medal, full stop. That was, the pinnacle of my career.
Yeah, Geraint Thomas, in an interview when he was, the year he won the Tour de France, coming into the final time trial, and this is where it was all, coming down to this time trial, do or die, had to ride well. He's a good time trialer anyway, so he should have been reasonably confident. And the journalist asked him, if he was, how nervous was he, knowing that this could be, the winning moment of the Tour de France for him. He said, this is nothing. Try lining up in the final of the Olympic Games in the team pursuit, you're racing for gold on your home track in London. He said, that is nerve-wracking. He said, so the Tour de France time trial, final time trial, that is nothing. Don't worry about it. If it happens, it happens. But yeah, the team pursuit lining up in London, he said that was far more nerve-wracking, so much more pressure on his shoulders. They also have spoken about that in the past, those guys, about just how much they love being a part of that team environment with a real goal, working well together, hard for so many months, years to come away with the win. And yeah, it's great that I can see that with you and the boys, with Brownie and Brad and Luke Roberts. It's a great camaraderie.
I remember after one Giro that I happened to be on, my whole family joined me right near the end, and we were staying in a little up in the hills, just up the back of your hometown, and you come and we had the best party. You came up with the family and Brownie and that, and we had the sing along. And I realised you're a superstar at karaoke that night. You remember that, mate?
Not really. It was probably one of our big but I remember the flamenco dance you organised. That was pretty fantastic, mate.
That's the night. The flamingo dance. But we ended up doing karaoke as well that night. You took hold of over the microphone, I remember.
Oh, geez. Must have, I can't remember that one.
No, maybe it was me. Maybe it was me.
My wife's much better at that than me, mate.
No, I couldn't get you. I couldn't get you onto the microphone. You were there, but I think I took it over. But it was an amazing night. Flamingo dances and whatever after an amazing Giro. But you were leading out some of the great sprinters, like as we mentioned, Pataki, who was the sprinter of top sprinter for 4 or 5 years. Of course, Hushov and Brownie. You spent a whole season leading Brownie out. Who was the hardest one to look after?
Brownie.
You didn't even have to think about that.
No, look, I think, those Panari days was sort of the start of my real career on the road. I got to do San Remo and rode many Giros, all the Giros with them. And, we had a lot of good times. I think the best times, in Malaysia, we cleaned up there and we won a lot of races together. Yeah, we had a good combination. It was like a love-hate thing, me and Brownie. If you know him, if he's watching this, he'd probably laugh at it as well. But we had our good times and bad times together. Still mates to this day. But, he was great. But look, I think, I was fortunate enough to work for Hushov and win the green jersey leading tour out that year. And that guy's, looked after me like you wouldn't believe, in a lot of ways. Great guy. And Pataki as well. I think one year we won 6-7 stages in the Giro with him. Good guy, a very quiet guy, but I think, he was different, very timid for a sprinter, I thought, but massive talent. You're not seeing guys hit out at 300 metres to go these days and hold on for the win.
Well, Pataki, there was the Baden Cook. Have you heard that story? Baden Cook was reading an interview that Pataki gave, and Alessandro in that one actually admitted that he was genuinely scared in the last sort of 10 to 5 kilometres of the sprint stage because of the hustle and bustle and all the pushing and shoving. And you know what Cookie's like. As soon as he read that, he thought, "Oh, thanks for that little bit of info." So from that moment forward, every time he raced against him, he hit him harder and more often, and rubbed him and squeezed him and pushed him and did everything to intimidate him to try and get the better of him after that. So backs up your timid kind of approach that he had, which is unusual, isn't it? Yeah.
No, you're right. I think if you look at the Fassa Bortolo days when he had these massive trains and he used to start so early, and he had these guys that could just hit the front and take him to 200 or 150 or whatever. I mean, personally, sometimes I dropped him off at 250, which is a bit early, and afterwards he goes, "Good lead out," because he was just so strong, and he just was so good at just winding it up from the front. You're right. He didn't like the hustle and bustle for sure.
What about your Giro? You've got to talk about your prologue time trial win in the Giro. What an incredible moment to win that and wear the Maglia Rosa.
I get asked about that one a lot. It's one of them where it was 1.12 kilometers. You had the likes of, I think it was Stewie or Renshaw rode like a fixed wheel track bike, and I thought about that idea, but just went for the old non-aerodynamic Colinago I was riding at the time, just pure power. You can probably, Jones, you could probably pull some photos up there. They weren't very pretty of me going off the line, but I trained myself that year. Obviously, the year before we won the Olympics, I knew exactly what to do. It was like a lot of 2-minute efforts with high power stuff. And it was a beautiful moment in my career, The only thing was bloody Cipollini stole my thunder a bit because his retirement race and got up there in his pink suit and with the big long head and hair going on, So, there you go. Anyway, That's part of the Giro.
That's Cipollini. But the thing is, the thing people would know, he wasn't even in the bike race. He was only as a guest rider. They got him to because he's so popular, and then he pitched all the limelight off you on the stage.
And if you have a look at that photo there, like I've got pretty big mitts on me, but he's like just grabbing me like a bloody baseball glove.
How dare he though? Like you'd think there'd be a little bit more etiquette in, come up, do his little thing to the crowd. Yeah, great. And then, hand it over to you to say, well, hey, this guy won today. But no. He was in for the long haul. He wanted all the attention.
Yeah.
Mario chasing attention? No,
mate. Yeah, look at his Instagram feed lately, mate.
A very brief Chippo disappointment story, because look, he changed so many things, didn't he? He was the guy that came in with the clothes, changed jerseys, shorts, and things like that. The yellow bikes. He was really an innovator in that regard, and got fined a lot for wearing the wrong jersey. But it was so cool, and it might have been a 200 Swiss franc fine or something, so whatever. So we paid it because it looked so good, great for the image. I think also it was the first. When they were riding Cannondale at Saeco, because he wins so much and put his hands straight up in the air like that, Cannondale came up with the idea of putting the C on the inside of the gloves. No one had a logo on the inside of the gloves until Mario kept showing his palms. They thought, hey, there's advertising space. So put the logo on the inside of his gloves. So he was a real innovator. But one of his great lead-out men was Calcaterra. So one of the strong men, he wasn't doing the last sort of 200 metres or 400 metres, but he was right in there in the last couple of Ks. And I went to his retirement race. They had it at the Figarelli Velodrome in Milan. And Mario was going to be the big star to come along, obviously, as his former teammate that he spent his entire career working for. And there's a whole bunch of us from Mappe and other different teams, whatever there. And Mario didn't turn up. And everyone's sort of trying to work out where he is. He didn't turn up. And, anyway, Calcaterra retired. Then we're down in the change rooms afterwards, showering. And then Cipollini walked in and come up to Calcaterra. He said, oh, mate, sorry, I got caught up, blah, 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 whatever, some excuse. And I remember looking at him, thinking, mate, they're really disappointing that, it's the retirement race for a guy that spent his entire career helping you win races. And you couldn't be bothered to turn up on time for his retirement race. So that was one thing about Mario that really disappointed me, that moment, because he was a superstar in so many other ways.
Yeah, that's pretty piss poor, mate. But, I mean, like on the other side, we talk about cycling kit. You were lucky enough to ride in the coolest kit ever, that Mappe kit. That's undoubtedly. That era, like you said about the gloves, that was like marketing. That the cycling changed in those years. And, look at cycling kit these days. It's pretty cool stuff, but it's all aero and everything. But that era there was something else, wasn't it?
They were pretty flappy jerseys too, yeah. Well, one year, so 2002, the last year, we changed from Sportful as a sponsor to Santini. And Santini, it was Matthew Gilmore and I doing the 6 days on the track for them through the winter. So we were the first ones to actually go to an event with all the new kit. And that meant, so the multicoloured gloves, arm warmers, jerseys, shorts, and they also had the full multicoloured leg warmers and shoe covers. So those multicoloured bricks, we were top to bottom. The only thing we didn't have was shoes with a big curl at the end of them with a bell on it, like a Cortez. That's what we looked like. And then the older guys from the road guys, they went to their first training camp and they just said, no, there's too much colour here, guys. And they made Santini just supply them with just plain blue leg warmers to at least try and break up the Mappe bricks.
Now, Burt, tell me the story about back in the Pataki days. You took our training. So I'm going to call in and see somebody, and it turned out to be quite a famous opera singer. So tell me that story, mate.
Yeah, it was the year that. It was after the Giro, I think, and Pataki won quite a few stages. And I was living in Monsemano and about a 30, 40K drive down to where it was at Porta di Mame. I went down for sort of a training ride. And then he said, you like opera, don't you? Like, I've listened to some different genres and music. But I said, yeah. So I pulled into this mansion on the front row in Porta di Mame. If anyone knows this part of Italy, it's like one of the most expensive pieces of, real estate in Italy. And I opened the door and it's Andrea Bocelli. Good mates with Pataki. and he's jumped on a tandem bike with Pataki, and we've just gone for a ride, as you do.
Who was on the front of the tandem? Was it Kelly or Pataki?
Definitely not on that.
Boom, boom.
And then, we got to know him a little bit, and we went to an opening of a hospital and had the kids crawling on Bocelli's lap, and he sung a song, his opera song was, it's pretty amazing sort of memories, and the people you do get to meet in elite sport,
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Hey, we were talking about the track before. What do you make? Like, you're in a team that's famous for innovation and the term marginal gains and all that kind of stuff. But this last couple of seasons, it's been extraordinary with guys that have come from other disciplines within cycling, so not so much track, but from cyclocross, and just transitioned at such young ages, which has been extraordinary. It used to be that you have to spend a couple of years building the strength and the endurance to be able to do these grand tours. And there's a guy in the Giro at the moment from Ukraine who's 18, straight out of juniors. And then you look at Pidcock and, Matthew Van Der Poel, Pogacar, these guys at such young ages have just jumped straight in, and Evenepoel's another one, and just able to go 250, 260 Ks and win stuff. So, is that part of technology, training, sports science? What's been the big shift that's allowed that?
Well, I definitely think it's part of coaching and training, and my little fella's just pulled in now with his bike and he's practicing his aero position and etc. But there always has been these young guys around. If you look at back in the day, I think Kunico, how old was Kunico when he won the Giro? 21, I think. I think McGee even ran third that year. I'm probably wrong there, but Tom Boonen, when he was up there podium in Roubaix was 22 years old. So they always have been around. But you're right, with Grand Tours, young guys riding them now, I think the mentality has changed. But the longevity of a rider, I don't know how long if they're going to be riding when they're 35, if they're winning Grand Tours at 21.
Yeah, well, it's like with Peter Sagan. He's been so dominant for a long time, and then now we look at him like, well, he's he might win, he might not. He's just not what he used to be. But he's still only 30 or 31. He's not old, like by normal cycling terms. That's not an old rider at all.
If you look at, we went through it with one of our coaches the other day, and if you look at Peter Sagan's results, he's one of the best riders on paper still out there. Unbelievable. If I just change, back to Pidcock and Van Der Poel, if you watched just yesterday the short course mountain bike and what this guy's doing it's amazing. And last weekend, if you're into, Scott, you're into mountain biking a bit. He started in position 100 on the 11th row and was leading the race at one stage. I can't even fathom how amazing that is. And he just, running a drum in Amstel Gold and Brabanson Pill winning that, not long ago. He's a huge talent, that kid.
Exciting to have him on your team. Yeah, that was so Nova Mesto Mountain Bike World Cup. Matthew Van Der Poel was first, and that was the cross-country short course, or the cross-country criterion they call it. So the actual cross-country Olympic distance is on Sunday. But he was second, Van Der Poel first, and the current world mountain bike champion was third, and then Nino Schurter was fifth or seventh or something like that. These guys just popping back straight onto the road and carving them up in the mountain bike. It is amazing, isn't it, to see how they can just do that. And to have him on your team, like what can you expect from someone like Tom Pidcock? Is it classics? Is it Grand Tours? What can he be?
I don't know. It could be anything, Scott. Just so professional. Obviously does good numbers, amazing talent, and he's so smart as well with the way he rides and to have those skills. There's only him and Van Der Poel that are covering the three disciplines at the moment. The only thing not doing is the track, but who knows what they could do there as well. You saw him in the Baby Giro last year, it was, and he's obviously can climb as well. So I think he should stick to what he's doing at the moment, switching it up and concentrate on maybe the Ardennes. You could definitely win all those races, and then there's always time to switch over to winning Grand Tours.
Yeah, look, I think it's making a lot of riders look at how they prepare for the season. I think you'll get more and more jumping into cyclocross as we move on.
Yeah, good point, John. Look at Heinrich Hausler. He's gone and ridden some cyclocross races on his own expense and supported himself there throughout the winter, and he was quite good, in his classic campaign.
Yeah. Coming back. So I thought we'll move on to a little bit on your current role as a DS, but I just thought just talk that last part before we get. I know that there's a video lined up of you in that 2005 in that pink jersey. So if you want to flick that on, Dan, that'd be great to see.
I rode my first Giro when I was 23 years old for an Italian team, a smaller Italian team. I did the first 4 years of my career with them. That team had been running for probably 20 odd years, and the history behind it, and to feel the warmth of an Italian team, what the Giro meant to me, and I lived in Italy for quite a big chunk of my life. So that was 2003. I broke through and won a pink jersey in the really short prologue down in Reggio Calabria, 2005, and that was one of the biggest highlights in my career. It was only a short stage, but the passion and everything in the team hotel when I got back, and like I said, this team had been running for 25 years, and they'd never had a pink jersey in their team, and I was the first to do it for them, an Aussie guy, young Aussie guy in their Italian team, and those memories I'll never forget, and I still see the managers to this day, and their smile on their face when I see them at the Giro. They still thank me for that.
I'm laughing at the bloke who jumped up on the stage with you. He couldn't help himself, could he?
Even Scotty wouldn't wear something like that, mate.
You got to have good form to be wearing that. But yeah, he's on the stage, but then actually had the balls to actually get up on the podium with you at the end. So
well, you can see, you could actually see he did have the balls to do that. Yeah,
you can see him.
It's actually like I live like he's from Lucca. I was living in Montemano. I was training in that area once, and a big chippo turned up. I was actually doing an effort. Sleeves rolled up, nicks rolled up, all tanned up, no helmet. And he's like, Charles Brett. I'm like, hey, man, how you doing? Like, all in Italian, of course. He goes, let's go get a coffee. I'm like, okay. Pulled in some bar and knew the woman behind the bar and how you doing, sweetheart, etc., etc. So that was quite some story, but I was impressed he actually remembered me.
Now we saw in that little video you was just showing then you in the Orica Green Edge colours. You were one of the original guys in the team. Just take us through a little bit of what it was like to actually. You've been pro for a long time, to be able to actually join an Australian team in the World Tour.
Yeah, I think from my knowledge, I was one of the first riders to sign on for Green Edge back then. I'd been in Garmin that year. I was quite unhappy. Let's say I'd been from Cervelo to Garmin and didn't get to start Group A. There's a bit of a political shit behind that, but and I've called my manager and sort of got in contact with Shane and put pen to paper really early before the team had started. So it was those first couple of years were fantastic, and they went a different direction in the end for GC, understandably, but we killed so many time trials, and so many memories there, and just good people, and I see a lot of the staff members are still there, and they're just fantastic people.
Yeah. So I was talking to Giro last week, and he's had an amazing career. But he still reckons, of course he would think this, I suppose, but because of the yellow jersey, but he reckons that first week of the 2013 Tour de France was the greatest week in his life, really. And it was something special. So, and you were a part of that, to win that team time trial and the first yellow jersey for an Australian team. What are your memories of that one, mate?
I think, we started in Corsica, didn't we? And we stayed in this beautiful location. We had good team spirit, some dodgy roads out there. The bus incident, as we all know about, with Capri happened, part of the whole show. I think, the amount of media, Jerry got out of that was huge. But, Simon beat Sagan in that little sprint there, didn't he? It was Simon.
Yeah, it was Sagan.
Yeah, that's right. Then we went over to Nice and had an incredible time trial. We had the pressure of last team, and I still think to this day that's the fastest ever team time trial. It might correct me if I'm wrong, but
well, it was at the time. It was definitely at the
time.
It was
then. It was super fast. A lot of the Cam Meyer and Stewie and Gossie, Impey, like a lot of ex-track riders that knew what they were doing, but a super fast course. And I'd have to agree, it was a special time, and for Australian cycling, it was amazing.
Hey, and a little tidbit that I guess most fans won't know, but so Jerry Ryan, obviously the owner of the team, famous for his business skills, and Jayco Caravans in Australia and in New Zealand. And every year they have a dealer conference, different parts of Australia, all around the world. They had the dealer conference for Jayco, all the Aussie dealers, in Nice that year. So you had the dealer conference there when you guys won the team time trial. I was like, you could not have scripted that better. I'm sure they ordered a lot more caravans after that as well. So Jerry would have been really happy.
Jerry just walked in and did that one,
Yeah.
Look, it's amazing, because I remember it really well. I was lucky enough to be there, and I remember I wasn't real well at the time. I was a bit crook, and I'm walking up towards the start, and I get a text from Jerry. Where are you? I said, I'm on my way. So we get in there, and all these dealers who don't know much about cycling, they were sort of expecting the team to go well because Giro won the stage the day before, and they knew a good ride puts them to the yellow jersey. And when it happened, they just thought, oh, well, this happens all the time. They didn't realise how lucky they were to be there on that amazing, special day. It was just, it was just the Jerry, the golden touch of Jerry. It was definitely amazing. And I also remember as they crossed the line and they yelled, the announcer yelled that you guys were going to be in get the yellow jersey, or the Giro was going to get the yellow jersey. All the dealers jumped up, and Jerry pushed the ball out of the way and come and grabbed me. And I think I was pretty crook with Tom. I think he thought I was going to pass away soon after, so he gave me a great big cuddle. But it was really special.
Yeah, I think it's a bit similar, I guess, with Jim Radcliffe coming in with Ineos. Skye sort of fell through. Jim come in and just said, "No, taking the whole team," and then boom, you win the Tour de France with Egan. But as we all know, it's not easy. It's a lot of hard work, and of course the competition's hard out these days, and you got to work every day to get these little gains and make sure that you keep on top of things 100%.
It's not just money, is it? So it's great to have the most money or a lot of it, but you've got to have the right people with the right smarts to spend it in the right areas where you need to get the performance. And and that's obviously what Ineos and Skye have done. They've had the biggest budget, but they've spent it the right way to make sure you've had the gains to get the wins. So when you go back through the Tour de France since 2012, it's been incredible run from the Skye/Ineos team.
Yeah, I think, we do have a large budget, and a big chunk of that is spent on the riders. So just an example, I think like last week we were in Algarve, I was DSing down there, and, we've got 2 rental vans with the bikes to go there because it's like a third program, or, all the resources go, of course, to Italy for the Giro. One of the vans breaks down. We've got hire vans, we've got the bus there, the generator, some issues with it. We've sorted it out. So, I think there are, limitations with everyone's budget,
Yeah.
So your main role this year was at the Cobble Classics. That's an exciting races to be. So take us a bit about through Ineos's efforts and performances in the Cobble Classics, especially Pidcock.
Yeah, I think it's Sivas Carnarvon. Obviously, he's won Roubaix, and there's only a handful of these guys, DS-wise, that know this part of the world like them. They can tell you, like you had Scott Sunderland on there yesterday, they can tell you what angle you come from, this way up a climb and this way, and they know everything. So we changed a few things last year, and having Pidcock come in and, sort of a younger team, let's say, likes of Ethan Hayter. We had probably our most successful Classics campaign yet, without takeaway Roubaix, which will be in October. Dorsvland London, we won. We're up there in Ghent Wevelgem, etc. Brabanson Pill, which is the last race for the Flanders Classics organisation, we won with Pidcock. We're very happy with the way things went.
Well, and depending on where you think or perceive the finish line of Armstrong to actually be, Pidcock almost won that as well.
Yeah. Actually, I wasn't there myself. I had some other stuff on, so didn't get to do. I did the Ardennes last year, that was quite a performance. But, that's the UCI rule, and that's their camera. It was what it was.
Yeah, I still have trouble working out how it didn't go to Pidcock, because the when they stopped on the line, from every photo I saw, it looked like he'd won it, but then somehow they dragged out another one and he lost it. And even that one, I had trouble picking it. Dead heat, I think everyone would have been happy with.
Yeah, it just goes to show like how talented this kid is. First try at them. He did all the cobbles, nearly all the cobbles as well. So you've got to understand that normally a rider will just concentrate solely on the cobble classics or the Ardennes, or they might do Amstel, some of the cobbles guys, but never do the rest. So that performance was, all his performances were just amazing, and he's still killing it in the mountain bike. Let's see how he goes tomorrow.
It'll be interesting. I'll be looking forward to. Yeah, because I'm commentating the mountain bike events at the Olympic Games, as well as road track and BMX. It'd be really interesting to see how they go. Because Peter Sagan, 2016, he thought the road course was too difficult for him, so he focused on mountain bike. And he had a similar situation like you're talking about with Tom. The last row, Sagan lined up in the last row on the start line in Rio, and by the end of the first opening lap, like the start lap that they do before they go out on the open circuit, he was 5th position. So extraordinary start for him as well. Smaller bunch than you have at World Cups as well. But I'm really curious to see how Matthew and Tom end up going. A little bit further down on the mountain bike stuff. A question to you, mate, about we talk about you in the pink jersey, riding for an Italian team, living in Italy and leading, the second biggest race in the world, and for the Italians, it's probably they consider it perhaps the biggest. Olympic Games as well. What is it now that you enjoy most about your role and your participation in cycling in your position as a director sportif? What is it that you get out of this the most now?
For me now, I really enjoy working with the young kids, or let's call them kids, up and coming. Fortunate enough, I was there last week, with Ethan Hayter. What a talent, So he almost won this race. He binned it in the time trial, which is going a little bit too quick.
Yeah, I saw that.
He would have won the race easy if he didn't bin it. So people, he'd be 10 days quarantine because he was close contact on a flight back to the UK, had to quarantine at home, was on the home trainer, went and did 2 days with the track team on the team's pursuit, which he'll do in Tokyo. Turns up to Algarve and nearly wins the thing, and it's, I love working with these young guys. I've worked also with the best of Tour of Britain. We had all our hitters there, from Froome to, G. Thomas, Ian Stannard, which it's nice to have that, but you can't teach them anything. So when I go to these, let's say, smaller races, that I'll get a really big kick out of it.
What about the Aussies? So with Ethan in particular, I only posted a couple of days ago because I was commentating the Commonwealth Games for Channel 7 here in Australia from 2018, and Sam Welsford won the scratch race. Cameron Meyer set him up incredibly well, but Ethan Hayter spent, I think it was he took maybe 10 laps to go or 9 laps to go, and almost held on to win the scratch race solo with Cameron Meyer chasing full gas, and then Welsford, letting loose with a bit under 2 laps to go. So an extraordinary ride by Sam to win. But Hayter's performance was incredible to hold on that long. What about from this next generation of Aussies? Have you got your eye on, this next group of guys like Welsford, Kel O'Brien, Luke Plapp? Obviously was working very closely with Richie Port at Tour Down Under. What do you see from the Aussies that are coming through?
Yeah, there is a box. Look, I can't comment on who's going to be coming on board, but we have a really talented young Aussie.
I was subtle though. It wasn't subtle. Like I made that like a bit of a generalisation.
No, yeah. Look, also Scott. Unfortunately, the thing is at the moment with COVID that these kids or younger guys aren't really having the chance to make their way over to Europe, and it's quite difficult at the moment for Australians, obviously, to travel and 2 weeks quarantine. So definitely, there's a lot of talented kids around. It's just seeing them race, is the issue.
But you're also pitching some older ones too. So Richie, it's going to be interesting to watch him. How's he going at the moment?
Yeah, Richie's up in Tenerife with the guys training hard. Rowan's up there. That's one. Rowan's like, you might hear what you want to say about Rowan, but I work real close with Rowan, and he's one of the greatest athletes I've worked with. Super professional and just says it how it is. I love the guy. So it's good to have a couple of Aussies on board, and Cam Worth. He's an interesting guy. We had him in Algarve last week, and he is such a talent, and he's a much better bike rider now than what he was when he was with Liquid Gas. Big engine, the brake goes out to 6, 7, 8 minutes. Yep, just put Cam on the front. That's what he does. We had him in some of the classics. I used him in, I had him in the Ardennes last year, sit on the front for 180K, and he's still there. Like he won't get to the finish, but just a massive engine and a pleasure to have around. Cam can talk all day, but he's not negative. He's just a fantastic guy to have around.
Yeah, he's a great story, isn't he? That's because he's not winning these races. He doesn't get the recognition of, obviously Richie for the Tour de France and these other riders. But he's a fantastic story, coming from rowing to professional cycling to triathlon, and now not just back to pro cycling, but back to Ineos. Or to Ineos. That's an incredible story that I think has been undertold.
Yeah, I think you could probably do a segment on that alone. He'd be good at have on this.
We'll go for a 2 hour. We got to that.
We'll go for 3 hours, but yeah, look, Cam, also has his own sponsors in Pinarello and Castelli through the triathlon, and he's going to be participating in his first Ironman in a long time down here in the Costa Brava, just close by. So I'm going to actually go down and give him a little bit of support. I don't know nothing about triathlon, but just show up and he works hard, mate. He's an animal, an absolute animal.
Now we did have a question pop up. There we are from back home, mate. Hi, Brett from Wendy May Abbott. We'd love to have you come back and visit us at the Shep Cycling Club.
I'd love to as well, but I'm not a fan of sitting in a hotel room for 2 weeks with the Australian in quarantine.
And Wombat Breath says that thanks for the show, guys. Much appreciated. Great memories of Burt's prologue, Burt and Thor's teamwork, and those magic green edge TTTs. So there you go. Samantha, if Cam is struggling, wouldn't it be best for him to pull out Olympics around the corner? Well, I talk about
Cam.
Yeah, I know, but he'll be. You got to ride yourself through this, so he'll be. I'm sure he'll be a lot better today. But before we let you go, I did promise before we started the show. I promised Dan that we'd make it short, sharp, and keep it down to about 45 minutes. We've gone past the hour, but I've got a couple of quick ones for you, Bert, before you nick off, because it's fantastic to have you on board, mate. I've really loved it. But
that sounds like our Ineos conference calls. I'm used to it.
Back to the Giro here. Bernal, how impressive have you been with him so far this week?
Yeah, obviously, it's open knowledge that he has a back issue, and that's been playing up. He seems to be on top of it. Yeah, we saw the team go pretty deep a couple of days ago to try and open things up, maybe test the opposition to see where they're at. He looks the strongest bike rider in the race at the moment. But as we know, the Giro's, 3-week-long race, and the last week is where it's always won in my eyes. So let's see what happens today. It's not too crazy. Long climbs, but nothing too steep. Tomorrow's pretty tough. Just hope it doesn't rain down that part of the world, as we know, where Michael Matthews won the stage up to Monte Cristo when I broke my hand there. Me and Swaino went down in 2004, back to the Green Edge days. But, we'll see how he goes, mate. He's looking good.
Yeah. Hey, explain a bit about that, because we talk about if it rains down south, because this is the southernmost stage of the Giro, so they're basically going, I think it's east to west at the very bottom, or close to the bottom, and then from tomorrow on it's coming back up north again. But what's it like, and explain why it's so much more dangerous down south if it hasn't rained for a while and then rains for a bike race?
Look, I don't want to put my foot in it too much, but I think what you have down there is, it's not like the north of Italy. There's a bit more poverty, and I'll call it poverty, but the cars are pretty old and dumping a lot of oil. That goes on the road. It rains and it brings it up through the surface, and it's just like an ice skating ring. That's the way I see it, and not really maintain the roads the same down there. So it is treacherous. I remember years ago when Nick Gates was riding with Lotto, we're sliding in our asses at 60k an hour, sort of second time in one day with a big group. But it is very dangerous, and sometimes there's just nothing you can do about it.
Luckily, we're not going down there. We're not going down there, so we don't have to really dissect it too much. But my last thing for you, mate, is to talk about the Tour de France coming up. We've got obviously Bernal. If he wins this, he won't be going into the Tour de France. But it seems that the G is set to be the man. But is that how you see it panning out?
I think we'll go into the race with a few leaders. I think a few options. Richie's moving well, and Carapaz is obviously when he's climbing well, he's one of the best in the world. But back to G, he's doing everything right. He looks good. He's in good nick. There's a couple of time trials that you need to perform in, like really need to perform in. And obviously the two Slovenians are very good time trialers, so we're up against some stiff competition. It's how you race it, isn't it?
Yep, it's going to be wonderful.
What a mix, though. If you had Bernal on the start line, plus Carapaz, plus Geraint Thomas, it's actually extraordinary. And if Egan's back starts playing up, Peter Serry knows a pretty good chiropractor that he went to 2 days ago. So just get in touch with him.
I've been super impressed with Garner again in this tour. He's just an animal. What he does all day on the front, and then climbs halfway up the big climbs as well. For a big bloke, he's just staggering. What are your opinions of him, mate?
Yeah, I think he's got big power and it's impressive. The thing with these guys that impress me the most is the way, and Scott will agree as well, the way they can switch from track to road. He's been doing track camps, and then he'll switch back, and they're going to try and win the gold medal in the team's pursuit. So it's pretty phenomenal in this day and age that they can handle both.
Yeah. So we've gone for the record. I think we're up to nearly an hour and 9 minutes. So we're about to wrap it up. Scotty, I'll ask you first. Your tip for stage 8?
Okay. This would normally have Peter Sagan's name all over, I would think. But maybe Diego Ulissi. He's this type of rider as well. So they're the two that I'd be thinking about.
Yep. Okay. Well, I'm going to go. I'll go with Sagan as well. I think it's a perfect stage for him, and he's desperate to try and get one. And Burt, your thoughts, mate?
Guveria.
There. No
Really?
bias in there. Good. Yeah. Good call. Good call.
Right,
My last one, we are going to wrap it up, and thanks heaps, mate. But I've got to say, last year's Giro, it really changed my thoughts on Rowan Dennis. There's no doubt that Gegenhardt can thank Rowan for that victory in the Giro, because it was just staggering. And it made me think that with the right sort of preparation, everything, that Rowan could be a contender for a Grand Tour. Do you reckon he could?
Oh, 100%. But Rowan doesn't want that. That's not even on Rowan's radar. You know, he's really happy with the team, and he's happy to be a worker now and win some time trials. But one thing I will say is that when he finishes the tour this year, going into the Olympics with a course like that, with 800 meters of climbing in a time trial, he's going to be going as a hot favourite to win Olympic gold medal.
Yeah, I'm going to be happy with that for sure. Yeah. The thing you mentioned him before, Rowan, just briefly on it. Obviously, he had his troubles with his previous team, and even talking with the Australian High Performance Manager as well, said that he felt that Rowan's one of the easiest people he's had to work with, because he just knows what he wants. And as long as you don't get in his way, he's going in a path. He's got his mindset going for whatever it is, and just don't get in his way. Help him move forward, and he's really easy to work with. I guess the previous team were there was too much friction. They just weren't helping him to achieve what he wanted to, and that's when it all fell apart. But it sounds like you've got the same approach with him. Work with him to move forward, and he's committed, he's dedicated, and certainly an incredible talent.
Yeah, it's just mismanagement, isn't it? I mean, to be honest, we've got a few other riders that are a lot harder. Well, Rowan's not. Rowan's easy. There's riders that are hard to deal with, So, I mean, he's happy here, and actually, socially, have a bit to do with Rowan now, and comes from a great family, and Mel's doing well with the new little girl they've just had, and I think life's good for them.
All right. Well, look, thanks, guys. It's been, set the record, hour 12, without doubt. But that was so easy to do, Burt, to have you on board, and really appreciate your input, mate. I look forward to catching up in the flesh. Hopefully this summer we can get you out. Thanks, Scotty. Thanks again. And for all our fans and viewers, don't forget, jump online, youtube.com, the Detour Podcast, register, and so we can see those numbers. But thanks again to Bike Exchange and to all our great partners out there, and Jerry for the support of cycling. And we'll see you tomorrow night. And hopefully Dan will be back.
Cheers, mate.